All languages are set except for Spanish. I'm still waiting for one of the interpreters to
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. All right, as we wait for parents to join the room, we can go ahead and move forward with our interpreters. My name is Christy Angel. I am the president of the Citywide Council for District 75. We will be starting this meeting at 12:02 p.m. We do have Mandarin, Spanish, and I believe Bangla interpreters today. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and open the floor up for the interpreters' instructions. Spanish, you do have the floor. You may give your instructions.
Hola, buenas tardes. Para escuchar la reunión en español, por favor, marcar el número de teléfono 347-966-4114, seguido del PIN de esta reunión, que es el 254-806-084, símbolo numeral. Por favor, al conectarse, ponga su teléfono en silencio para que no se escuchen ruidos de fondo. Esta información también va a estar puesta en el chat. Repito, el número de teléfono es el 347-966-4114, seguido del PIN 254-806-084, símbolo numeral. Muchas gracias. Spanish interpreting finished.
Thank you so much, Mandarin interpreters. You now have the floor to give your instructions.
Okay. The following announcement is made by Mandarin. 各位今天参与这个会议的贵宾跟家长我们有提供普通话的英文翻译，请拨打1347-966-4114 ，ID 密码为650-543-797，井字号。再重述一次，我们今天有中文的普通话翻译，请拨打1347-966-4114， ID 密码为650-543-797，井字号。请进入这个电话专线之后，请务必把你的麦克风关静音，以免背景音乐嘈杂影响其他收听者的权利。Okay, the Mandarin announcement is complete. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bangla, you now have the floor to give your instructions.
Thank you. The following announcement for the Bengali parents. Assalamu alaikum. গুড আফটারনুন আপনাদের সবাইকে। আপনারা যারা বাঙালি অভিভাবক আছেন আজকের এই অনুষ্ঠানটা শুনছেন, তারা বাংলায় এই প্রোগ্রামটা শোনার জন্য আপনারা বাংলায় ডায়াল করবেন। সেটা হচ্ছে 347-966-4114। তারপর আপনাদের কাছে একটা আইডি চাওয়া হবে। সেই আইডির নাম্বারটা হচ্ছে 64 #822-936#। আপনাদেরকে আমি নাম্বারটা এবং আইডি নাম্বারটা আবারও বলছি। নাম্বারটা হচ্ছে 347-966-4114 এবং আইডি নাম্বারটা হচ্ছে 646-822-936#। ধন্যবাদ। আপনারা প্রোগ্রামটি উপভোগ করুন। বাংলা অ্যানাউন্সমেন্ট ডান। থ্যাংক ইউ।
Wonderful. Guys, as you know, we have Anna Humphreys back with us again. She has been very great with letting us know about our transportation rights. She is back today to talk to us about knowing your voting rights. You guys know that there is a lot going on coming up with these elections, and we really want to empower our parents so that you can make the most impactful change as you move through the elections and knowing your rights. With that being said, Anna, thank you so much for being here again. And I now turn the floor over to you for your presentation.
Thanks, Christy, and thank you to our interpreters. My name is Anna Humphrey. As Christy said, I work for the Center for Independence of the Disabled, New York, or Sydney, and I am their transportation and voting community organizer. I'm just going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. So just please confirm when you can see it, and then I'll get started.
It's sharing.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, so today we're going to be talking about first voter registration, how to find your polling location, voting methods, knowing your rights, and then at the end, I will get into some specific details about the upcoming election in November and some deadlines that you have. So firstly, voter registration. So the first thing you might want to check up on is if you are already registered to vote, or if your child is already registered to vote. You may not know. So there is a link here as well as a QR code that you can scan, and it'll just have you search up your name and I believe your address, and then you'll be able to confirm whether you're already registered or not. This is also helpful if you've recently moved and you're not sure which address you're registered under, and you can find out if you need to update that information. If looking it up online isn't the best option for you, I also have the phone number here on the screen. It's 166-868-3692, and that will connect you with the New York City Board of Elections, and they can confirm whether you are registered and what address you're registered on, if you're registered with a party, and any information like that. So next, I'm going to talk about how to register if you find out that you're not registered. So the first way is online. You can either scan this code or go to this link that will take you to the New York City Board of Elections website. And that will allow you to register to vote online. Another option is to vote by mail. So if you would prefer to fill out a physical form, you can always contact me after the presentation and get a voter registration form. I have them in a handful of languages, and we can mail that right to your address, and then you can mail it to the Board of Elections. Another option is you could register to vote in person. So there are a couple of different Board of Elections locations in each borough. So I have the addresses listed here, and they are open Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So what do you need in order to register to vote? So you will need a New York State DMV number. So either an ID, a driver's license, a non-driver's license, or your social security number to register. So if you wanted to go online and register yourself or your child today, but you don't have either of these options, you can actually still register. There is a button on the new e-registration from the New York City Board of Elections where you can say, I don't have these options. And they will still allow you to register to vote, but you'll just have to remember that you have to provide additional identification the first time that you go in to vote. So This could include a valid photo ID and current utility bill, bank statement, paycheck, or other government document that shows both your name and your address. Next, I'm going to talk about how to find your polling location. So again, I have a QR code here as well as a link, and this will take you to, again, the NYC Board of Elections website where you can enter your house number, street name, and zip code. And then prior to the general election, they will have information about what is going to be on your specific ballot for your district. And then it will also tell you where your early voting and election day poll site is located. And then it also will allow you to check where the accessible entrance is for your site. So next I'm going to be talking about some voting methods. So the first is in person. So obviously during general elections, New York City has early voting, and this takes place during the 10 days that lead up to the election. And then you can also vote in person on election day itself, which is always the first Tuesday of November. The next option is we have a couple of mail-in ballot options. So the first is the absentee ballot. So this is a vote by mail option. Like I said, it is a physical ballot. And this is for voters who won't be in the county on election day. It could be for voters with disabilities, even someone who is caring for someone with a disability, or someone who is in jail for a reason other than a felony conviction. So any of these are valid reasons to request an absentee ballot, and the ballot will just be mailed to the address that you put down on the application, and then you'll fill it out and mail it back to the Board of Elections, or you could also have someone drop it off for you at a poll site if you prefer that option. The next option is the early mail ballot. So it's essentially the same thing as the absentee ballot, except there's no excuse needed. So you don't have to be someone with a disability or any of those other options I said before. You don't need an excuse. If you just prefer to vote early and to vote from home, this is a good option for you. The only thing is you must re-request this early mail ballot each election cycle. Whereas if you are requesting an absentee ballot, you can just mark off on the application that you want it to be sent to you every time automatically. If you're a person with a disability and you know that you are gonna have an easier time just voting from home, you can have it automatically be sent to you, whereas early mail, no excuse needed, but you must re-request it every election cycle. Lastly, we have the accessible ballot. So in New York State, this is an option that we have for voters with print disabilities. This allows you to fill out your accessible ballot on your home computer or laptop using any screen reading software that you might prefer to use. And then the only unfortunate downside of this is that you are still required to print the ballot on your own at a public library, a school. Some independent living centers will help you out with it. Sydney is one that will help you. Or if you just have your home printer and prefer that, you will have to print out the ballot and then mail it to the Board of Elections or drop it off at a poll site. Have someone do that for you if that's the best option. But unfortunately, they cannot be returned electronically. So the ballot will be sent to you through your email by the Board of Elections, but you cannot just email it back to them. It won't work. Your vote won't count. So this is a good option for some people who prefer the absentee ballot or the early mail ballot option, but they just aren't able to fill out that ballot physically on their own to use a screen reader. Unfortunately, there is that last step of printing and mailing it back. That is hard for some people. So hopefully that's something that we can continue to advocate for, and hopefully we'll be able to do electronic ballot return in New York State in the near future. But these are the 3 applications for the early mail voting options. So there's a different application for each. I have linked here with also some QR codes. But any of these links, I will make sure that Christy has them. But if any of these links you're not able to get during the presentation, you can always just look up accessible ballot or register to vote. And if you go to the New York City Board of Elections website, you'll be in the right place and they'll have all of those options there. It's pretty straightforward. And I do believe their website is accessible as well. So next we have the ballot marking device. So this is another voting method that is for in-person voting. So I'm just going to explain a bit about what the ballot marking device is and who it could be useful for, and some of the accessibility features that it has. So first, I did link another website. This will take you to the New York City Board of Elections again, and they have a helpful video about how to use the BMD. But the ballot marking device is an electronic device that allows voters, including voters with disabilities, but anyone can use it. It allows voters the ability to make their selections on a touch screen or another input method, and then it will print the paper ballot reflecting their choices to be scanned and counted in the regular scanner. So this device gives voters with disabilities the ability to read and mark their ballot privately and independently. Every poll site in New York City must have at least one ballot marking device. Some of the larger ones will have two. Right now, the BMD that we use in New York City is the Election Systems and Software AutoMark device. I have an image of it in the upper left-hand corner. It's about the size of a standard printer or fax machine, and it just has a big touch screen on the front of it. And the ballot marking device can read your ballot as well as mark your ballot, just like a really fancy pen. So it's not actually counting your vote. The device is only helping you read and mark the ballot. So how this works is the voter will receive the same ballot as any other voter in the poll site when you first sign in, and then the voter will go over to the ballot marking device and insert the ballot into the front of it. And then you can actually, it doesn't matter which way you enter it. It can be upside down, backwards, anything. It'll always know how to read the ballot correctly. And then you will use any of the input options to read and mark the ballot, which I'll get into a bit later. And then the ballot will print out with your options marked. And there's actually no real room for error with the ballot marking device. It is a computer and it's calibrated so that the ballots will be filled in correctly, and it actually doesn't allow you to over or under vote. So that could mean like voting for the same candidate twice or forgetting to vote for a candidate for a certain party. It will actually give you an alert and say, oh, you already voted for this person, or oh, you skipped this section. So that's the good thing about the BMD, is that you can't really make an error with it. But anyways, once it prints out the ballot, you'll bring it over to the scanner, insert your marked ballot, and then it will count your ballot and your vote will be cast. And again, any voter can use the ballot marking device. You don't have to have a disability to use it. So I'm going to go over some of the accessibility features it has. So first, like I mentioned, there is a touch screen, and that touch screen has a couple of features. So it has some contrast options if you prefer to have a black screen with white text or a white screen with black text. You can change that if that helps with a vision disability you may have. You can also zoom in and out for text enlargement. And then there's also a blackout option. So I'm not sure if you can see, but on the right-hand side of that photo of the ballot marking device, there is a keypad with some buttons. And on the far right, top right-hand corner, there is a diamond-shaped blue button. That is the blackout button. So this is useful for someone who might be blind or low vision and is not able to see the ballot, and they're having the ballot marking device read their ballot to them, and they're selecting their options without needing to or without being able to see the screen. The blackout option is great because if you want to make sure that you're voting privately and make sure that no one's looking over your shoulder, no poll workers or other voters are seeing how you're voting, that blackout option will just black out the whole screen. You can still do whatever you need to do, but you'll be able to vote privately that way.
I'm sorry to interrupt you for a second. I'm a replacement for the previous Spanish interpreter. Could you please allow me into the language line?
Will do, thank you.
Gracias, Alexander.
Thank you.
I'm going to see, 1 second. Because I'm sharing my screen, I don't really have access to everything. Let me see if Christy or someone is able to do that.
Okay. We're good. Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, so yes, that's the blackout option. The next feature is, like I said, there's a keypad on the right-hand side, and that has Braille written on it. So you have the options to go up, down, left, right, select. There's also a button to change the audio to make it louder or more quiet, or you can make the computer read your ballot more quickly or more slowly. So those are all options that you have on the right-hand side, and there's also Braille for that. Next is the headset / audio assistant. So the ballot marking device does have headphones that you're free to use. A lot of people prefer to bring their own headset, but there is a headphone, just a standard headphone jack that you can plug your headphones into, and then the ballot marking device will read you all of your options. Next is the rocker paddle. So this is a paddle that's about the size of a standard phone, and it has a yes and a no button on it. The no button is a big red circle, and the yes button is a big green circle. And they say yes and no in big font. And this is great for going through your different options and selecting your options. So for someone who might not have the dexterity to use that keypad on the right-hand side, or maybe someone that is an amputee or anything like that, they could use that rocker paddle to select their options. You can place it on your lap and push it any way that you choose, or you could even put it on the floor and press the buttons with your feet. And that's just a really good tool so that someone can use the ballot marking device independently. And the last option is the sip and puff device. So this is another device that the BMD will be equipped with in the poll site. They just plug it into the ballot marking device, and it's a device that goes over your head, sort of like headphones. And there's sort of like a straw attachment to it that you actually put in your mouth. So they have multiple sterilized straws that they'll switch in and out, obviously, for whoever comes to use the sip and puff. And it's similar to the controls of the rocker paddle. You're just basically saying no when you want to skip to the next option and saying yes when you want to select the option, except you use sip and puff for yes and no. So no is a sip. So that's a short inhalation, like to say no, I want to go to the next option. And the puff is the yes or select option, and that's just a short exhalation, like. So the sip and puff is a really, really cool device that again allows someone to use the ballot marking device and select their options independently based on any of their needs. And there will be a poll worker in every poll site that's assigned to the ballot marking device that can help with setup and using any of these options. Okay, so now I'm going to get into some of your voting rights. So every person has the right to access their in-person polling location, to vote independently and privately, and of course, to be treated with the same respect as any other voter. This means that anyone that enters the polling site can use the ballot marking device. You are allowed to bring someone to help you vote as long as it is not your boss or your union rep. So if you're a parent that wants to go along with your child to help them vote, you do have that option. And then you also are allowed, if you don't have anyone to bring with you, you can always request help from a bipartisan team of poll workers. So this means that they will randomly select a poll worker from each political party to help you fill in your ballot, and that should ensure that they're marking the ballot the way that you are asking them to. So a bit more about your rights. New York state law says that no person shall be deemed to have lost the right to vote because of a mental disability unless they have been adjudged incompetent by a court. So that means that only a judge can take away your voting rights. So if you just have a medical diagnosis, IEP, or guardianship, that does not mean that you can't vote. Most people with cognitive disabilities can and do vote, and it is illegal for anyone to stop you from voting just because of your disability. So that's all I have essentially for the presentation about the accessibility options and rights that you have as a person with a disability that's voting. But I just wanted to make sure that everyone is aware of the 2025 general election deadlines. So if you need to change your address, if you have moved recently and you need to change the address for your voter registration to be able to vote in your current district, the deadline to do that is Monday, October 20th, 2025. The voter registration deadline is Saturday, October 25th, 2025. The vote by mail application deadline. So if you fill out that application for your absentee, your early mail, or your accessible ballots, the deadline for that, if you're doing it online or sending in the application by mail, is Saturday, October 25th, 2025 as well. And then if you miss that deadline, but you still want to vote by mail, you could go in person and fill out that application at a Board of Elections location by Monday, November 3rd, 2025. So that would be the day before Election Day. And lastly, just so everyone can get these dates in their calendar and figure out if you want to vote in person, which date works best for you. Early voting, again, is the 10 days before Election Day. So that's Saturday, October 25th through Sunday, November 2nd, 2025. And then Election Day is Tuesday, November 4th, 2025. So you will notice that there is no voting on Monday, November 3rd. And just another reminder to make sure that if you are voting early, to check your polling location. Your early voting site might not be the same as your Election Day voting site, and the hours are not the same as they are on Election Day. So make sure you're going to that New York City Board of Elections website, putting in your address, your zip code, confirm your district, and confirm that you're going to the right site at the right time, because it would not be fun to show up to your polling location and be in the wrong place or have it be closed. So make sure you're planning ahead with that. If you have any questions, I am happy to answer them now. If there's any issues that you run into later with any applications or anything like that, please contact me. I have my email and my phone number here. I will also make sure I put them in the chat if that's easier for people to get written down. And then if you have issues on Election Day or the day that you go to vote, I have the ADA coordinators from the Board of Elections email listed here. And then you can also call me and I can help you make a complaint with them. or if you want to file a HABA complaint, this is the Help America Vote Act. If you believe that your rights were violated in the voting process in any way, or you have a problem with any poll workers or anything on the day that you go to vote, I can help you figure out if that's something that we can write a HABA complaint for, or if we just need to contact the Board of Elections about that. I'm happy to help with those two options as well. So thank you so much, everyone, for listening and for joining this meeting. And remember that your vote matters, your voice matters, and your child's voice and vote matters. Whether you have a disability or not, please exercise your right to vote and know that there are many options for you. So I will take any questions that we have now. Let me just check on the chat.
Thank you so much, Anna. Can we, yes, please. Can we double check? I don't know if you checked, I'm multitasking. Can we check in with the language lines to see if they have any questions along the way as well?
Sure. I will let the language line speak up first if you have any questions, and then I'll go ahead and answer the question in the chat that I can see if not.
There are no questions on the Bangla line.
Thank you.
There are
No.
no questions on the Spanish line either.
No questions on the Mandarin line.
Okay, thank you. So I do have a couple of questions in the chat. A person with disabilities that the parents have the guardianship of this person can vote. The rights of this person to vote are not taken away while the guardianship documents establish these rights. So I can't speak to the guardianship documents, but according to New York state law, whether you are the guardian or you're the someone that someone has guardianship of, you can vote and you can exercise your right to vote in New York state elections. The only person that can ever take away your right to vote is a judge. And all that is required to be able to have the right to vote is to understand that when you're voting, when you pick that person, that's the person you're choosing. Or when you pick that candidate or when you pick that option, that's what you are in favor of. You don't have to understand, you don't have to obviously go in there and say, this is what I know about this candidate, and this is what I know about the United States of America and the election process. There's nothing like that required. So that would be a case where the judge has said that the person is quote unquote incompetent. But that is not something you would have to worry about with in regards to guardianship. That person would still have the right to vote. I hope that answered the question. I'm not seeing any further questions in the chat. You're welcome, Karina. Okay, I will put my contact information in the chat to everyone as well in case anyone wants to copy that down. I'm happy to answer any other questions you might have, or if anything else comes up when you're doing any applications or anything like that. Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions. So that is it for me. Christy, do you have anything else to say in closing?
No, I do not have anything else to say. I want to say thank you again for the presentation. Thank you all for taking time out during the day. I know this was a lunch and learn. Thank you, Anna, for being so concise with your time. We're going to make sure to shoot this out to our family members who may be in schools or at work and miss this workshop. We'll also post this on CCD 75 Outreach on YouTube to make sure that it is still available. Anna, I would love if we could probably try to redo some level of this closer to the elections again, just so we can grab another source of people that may be missing out and really need to have this level of feedback. So once again, I want to thank everyone for joining. We are going to, let's see, did you get personal disabilities? So we have all of the questions out of the chat, Anna?
Yes, I answered that question from Karina,
All right.
so I think we're all set.
If we do not have any further questions or comments, Anna does have her information in the chat. We will have this again posted online. Thank you again for your time. It is 12:35 p.m. We will now let our interpreters go, and we will be ending our meeting. Once again, thank you for showing up, and have a great and amazing day.
Thank you, Christy. Thanks, everyone.